A single sentence can change the way people see you forever. One honest comment can end a friendship, close a door, create tension, or even turn people against you. That sounds unfair because honesty is supposed to be a good thing. It is one of the most respected values in the world. Parents teach it to their children. Schools encourage it. Society praises it. We grow up believing that telling the truth will always lead to the best outcome. Yet real life often tells a different story. Some of the most honest people discover that truth does not always bring rewards. In many cases, it brings resistance. It brings discomfort. It creates problems where none seemed to exist before. The surprising reality is that people often celebrate honesty in theory, but react very differently when the truth becomes personal. When the truth challenges someone's beliefs, exposes a mistake, touches an insecurity, or threatens an ego, honesty can suddenly become dangerous. Throughout history, many people have paid a price for speaking openly. Some lost their reputation, some lost opportunities, some found themselves isolated simply because they refused to hide the truth. Even in everyday life, countless honest people struggle with the same problem. They speak openly, trust others easily, and believe sincerity will always be appreciated. Instead, they find themselves misunderstood, criticized, or taken advantage of. But why does this happen? If honesty is such a valuable trait, why can it sometimes work against us? Why do some truthful people earn respect while others face rejection? And why do the wisest people in the world often choose their words very carefully instead of saying everything that comes to mind? The answers are far more fascinating than most people realize. In this video, you will discover the hidden psychological reasons people resist the truth, the difference between honesty and brutal honesty, how honest individuals can unknowingly make themselves vulnerable to manipulation, and why timing, emotional intelligence, and self-control are just as important as truth itself. You will also learn a powerful lesson that many successful leaders, thinkers, and respected individuals understand but rarely talk about openly. By the end of this video, you may see honesty in a completely new way. Not as a weakness, not as a mistake, but as a powerful tool that must be used with wisdom. And make sure you stay until the very end, because the final lesson could completely change how you communicate with people and protect yourself from the hidden costs that come with being too honest. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy videos that reveal the deeper psychology behind human behavior and help you navigate life more wisely, subscribe now and join us for more thought-provoking content. From the moment we begin to understand the world, one lesson is repeated again and again. Tell the truth. Be honest. Never lie. It sounds simple, and in many ways it is good advice. Honesty helps people trust each other. It creates stronger relationships. It makes cooperation possible. Without honesty, families, friendships, businesses, and entire communities would struggle to function. Because of this, honesty becomes one of the first values most people learn. It is presented almost like a universal rule that always produces positive results. Many people grow up believing that if they are truthful, life will reward them for it. They expect honesty to earn respect. They expect honesty to create understanding. They expect honesty to solve problems. Yet as people get older, many begin to notice a strange contradiction. The world often praises honesty, but does not always welcome it. In fact, some of the most difficult moments in life begin with someone telling the truth. This realization usually arrives slowly. It may happen in school when a student points out an unfair situation and suddenly becomes unpopular. It may happen in a friendship when someone shares an honest opinion and creates tension instead of appreciation. It may happen at work when an employee speaks openly about a problem and finds themselves viewed as difficult rather than helpful. At first, these experiences feel confusing. After all, the person only told the truth. They did exactly what they were taught to do, yet the reaction they receive suggests that honesty is not as straightforward as they once believed. The reason is simple. Human beings do not just care about truth. They also care about comfort. They care about feeling respected. They care about protecting their self-image. They care about avoiding emotional pain. Many times, these desires become stronger than the desire to hear an uncomfortable truth. This creates a conflict that exists in almost every part of life. People want honesty, but they also want that honesty to fit their expectations. They want truth, but only when it does not challenge their beliefs. They want feedback, but only when it does not hurt their feelings. They want openness, but only when it confirms what they already think. This hidden contradiction affects countless interactions every single day. Someone asks for an opinion. They expect praise. Instead, they receive honest criticism. The conversation changes immediately. The truth itself may be accurate, but accuracy does not guarantee acceptance. Sometimes it creates resistance. Sometimes it creates defensiveness. Sometimes it creates anger. The issue is not whether the statement is true. The issue is whether the listener is emotionally prepared to hear it. Psychologists have spent decades studying the way people respond to information that challenges their beliefs. One of the most fascinating discoveries is that people often reject facts when those facts threaten their identity. When a belief becomes connected to a person's sense of self, questioning that belief can feel like a personal attack. The brain treats the challenge almost like a threat. Instead of carefully considering the information, many people instinctively defend themselves. They search for reasons to dismiss the message. They focus on the tone instead of the content. They attack the messenger rather than examining the truth being presented. This helps explain why honesty sometimes produces unexpected reactions. A person may believe they are helping by speaking openly. They may genuinely care about the other person. They may have good intentions, yet the truth they share touches an insecurity, exposes a weakness, or challenges an assumption. Suddenly the conversation becomes emotional. What started as honesty becomes conflict. Many people discover this pattern in their personal relationships. A friend asks for advice. You answer honestly. Instead of appreciation, you notice disappointment. A family member asks what you think about a decision. You share your concerns. Instead of gratitude, you encounter frustration. In these moments, it becomes clear that the request for honesty was not always a request for truth. Sometimes it was a request for validation. Sometimes it was a request for reassurance. Sometimes it was a request for agreement. This does not mean people are intentionally dishonest. Most of the time, they genuinely believe they want the truth. The problem is that hearing the truth and wanting the truth are often very different experiences. Before the truth arrives, it feels valuable. After it arrives, it may feel uncomfortable. The emotional reaction can quickly overpower the original desire for honesty. Another reason this happens is because human beings naturally build stories about themselves. Most people like to think they are intelligent, capable, fair, and reasonable. These beliefs help create confidence and stability. However, honesty sometimes challenges these stories. It reveals mistakes, it exposes blind spots, it points out flaws. Even when the information is useful, accepting it can be difficult. Admitting a mistake requires humility. Acknowledging a weakness requires courage. Many people struggle with both. Because of this, honest individuals often find themselves in a difficult position. They believe truth should be valued, but they repeatedly witness situations where truth creates discomfort. Over time, some begin to question themselves. They wonder if they are being too direct. They wonder if they should stay silent. They wonder why people react negatively when honesty is supposed to be a positive trait. The answer lies in understanding a critical difference that many people overlook. Honesty and complete transparency are not the same thing. Being honest does not mean sharing every thought that enters your mind. It does not mean expressing every observation the moment you notice it. It does not mean turning every conversation into an opportunity for blunt truth. Unfortunately, many people confuse these ideas. This is where another hidden danger appears. Some individuals become proud of their brutal honesty. They see themselves as fearless truth tellers. They believe saying exactly what they think is proof of authenticity. If someone becomes offended, they simply respond by saying, I'm just being honest. The phrase sounds reasonable on the surface, but it often hides a deeper problem. Honesty alone does not automatically make communication effective. The way truth is delivered matters, timing matters, context matters, empathy matters. Without these elements, honesty can become harmful. A truthful statement delivered carelessly can cause more damage than a thoughtful statement delivered with compassion. The information may be correct, but the impact can still be negative. Consider how different the same truth can feel depending on how it is presented. One person points out a mistake with patience and respect. Another points out the exact same mistake with sarcasm and judgment. The factual content remains identical, but the emotional experience is completely different. One approach encourages growth. The other creates defensiveness. This is why wisdom plays such an important role in communication. Wisdom recognizes that truth is not simply about accuracy. It is also about effectiveness. The goal of honesty should not be to prove that you are right. The goal should be to communicate in a way that helps people understand reality more clearly. Sometimes that requires patience, sometimes it requires restraint, sometimes it requires waiting for the right moment. Many honest people struggle with this idea because they fear that filtering their words means being fake. In reality, the opposite is often true. Choosing the right words is not deception. Choosing the right timing is not manipulation. Communicating thoughtfully does not make honesty less genuine. It makes honesty more useful. A doctor does not deliver difficult news by shouting facts without consideration. A teacher does not help students learn by humiliating them. Own. A trusted friend does not strengthen relationships by turning every conversation into a list of criticisms. In each case, truth remains important, but the method of delivery determines whether that truth helps or harms. Own. Another mistake people make is assuming that every truth must be shared immediately. This belief creates unnecessary problems. There are moments when speaking openly is necessary. There are also moments when silence is the wiser choice. Not because the truth is wrong, but because the timing is wrong. A person overwhelmed by emotion may not be capable of processing important feedback. A tense situation may require calm before discussion becomes productive. Wisdom recognizes these differences. Own. The challenge is that society often presents honesty as a simple virtue while ignoring the complexity surrounding it. People learn the importance of telling the truth, but they rarely learn how to tell the truth effectively. They learn that lying is harmful, but they rarely learn that truth without empathy can also cause damage. They learn the value of openness, but they rarely learn the value of judgment. As a result, many individuals enter adulthood carrying an incomplete understanding of honesty. They know truth matters. What they do not yet understand is that truth operates within a world filled with emotions, insecurities, expectations, and social dynamics. Every conversation involves more than facts. It involves people, and people are rarely as rational as they believe themselves to be. This becomes especially important when discussing difficult topics. The more personal the issue, the stronger the emotional reaction often becomes. The more closely a belief is connected to someone's identity, the harder it becomes to challenge. The more uncomfortable the truth, the greater the temptation to reject it. Honest people frequently encounter these realities, sometimes without fully understanding why, yet these experiences reveal an important lesson. The real challenge is not deciding whether honesty matters. The real challenge is learning how honesty interacts with human nature. Truth does not exist in isolation. It enters conversations, relationships, workplaces, families, and communities filled with emotions and expectations. The moment it does, its effects become far more complicated than the simple lessons most people learned as children. One of the least discussed dangers of honesty has nothing to do with offending people or creating uncomfortable conversations. It is far more subtle than that. In fact, many honest people never notice it until they have already paid the price. The danger is manipulation. Honest individuals often move through life with a simple assumption. They believe most people think the way they do. They expect fairness because they try to be fair. They expect openness because they try to be open. They expect people to mean what they say because they themselves try to speak sincerely. This mindset feels natural. After all, human beings tend to view the world through their own experiences. When honesty becomes part of a person's character, they unconsciously assume honesty is common in others as well. Unfortunately, the real world does not always work that way. Not everyone values truth equally. Not everyone communicates with good intentions. Not everyone reveals information for the same reasons. Some people view honesty as a virtue. Others view it as an opportunity. This is where the imbalance begins. An honest person enters a conversation believing both sides are being genuine. They share their concerns. They reveal their fears. They talk about their mistakes. They admit their insecurities. They explain what they are struggling with. They believe this openness creates trust. In healthy relationships, it often does. But in unhealthy situations, the exact same information can become a tool for someone else. Every fear becomes useful data. Every weakness becomes leverage. Every insecurity becomes a potential pressure point. While one person is trying to build connection, the other persons may simply be collecting information. Many manipulative people are not easy to identify. They rarely announce their intentions. They rarely appear threatening at first. In fact, some of them appear extremely friendly. They ask questions, they listen carefully, they encourage openness. They create an environment where people feel comfortable sharing personal details. Honest individuals often mistake this attention for genuine interest. They believe they have found someone trustworthy. What they fail to realize is that trust should be earned slowly. Information shared too quickly can become dangerous when placed in the wrong hands. Think about how often people reveal deeply personal information simply because someone asks. They talk about their fears of failure. They discuss painful experiences. They describe their weaknesses. They explain what makes them anxious. In many cases, they assume vulnerability will automatically create stronger relationships. Sometimes it does, but not always. The wrong person listens to these details and sees possibilities. They discover which buttons to push. They learn what creates guilt. They learn what creates fear. They learn how to influence decisions. Information that was shared in confidence becomes information that can be used strategically. This pattern appears everywhere. It appears in friendships. It appears in workplaces. It appears in romantic relationships. It appears in business. The honest person often believes everyone is playing by the same rules. Meanwhile, another person may be focused entirely on personal advantage. One side is transparent, the other side is calculating. One side reveals information freely. The other side reveals only what benefits them. This creates a situation where one person becomes easy to predict while the other remains difficult to understand. Predictability can become a weakness. When people know exactly what scares you, they know how to pressure you. When they know what you desperately want, they know how to influence you. When they know what makes you feel insecure, they know how to trigger emotional reactions. Honest people often overlook this reality because they assume sincerity will be met with sincerity. Yet many skilled manipulators understand human psychology extremely well. They recognize patterns. They identify emotional vulnerabilities. They know how to use words, timing, and pressure to guide people towards specific decisions. The most dangerous part is that manipulation rarely feels like manipulation in the beginning. It often feels like understanding. It feels like support. It feels like friendship. It feels like trust. That is why so many honest people become trapped without realizing what is happening. They continue sharing information because the interaction feels safe. Only later do they recognize that certain conversations were never truly balanced. This does not mean honesty is a mistake. It means honesty requires awareness. There is an important difference between being honest and being unguarded. Many people confuse the two. They believe openness means revealing everything. They believe trust means immediate transparency. They believe authenticity means exposing every thought and emotion. In reality, healthy honesty includes boundaries. It includes judgment. It includes the ability to decide what information should be shared, when it should be shared, and with whom it should be shared. This is where a powerful shift begins. The answer to manipulation is not dishonesty. The answer is strategic honesty. Some people hear that phrase and misunderstand it. They assume strategic honesty means hiding the truth. It does not. Strategic honesty means understand that truth becomes most effective when combined with wisdom. It means recognizing that every piece of information does not need to be shared immediately. It means realizing that honesty is not measured by how much you reveal. It is measured by whether you intentionally deceive. Wise people understand this distinction. They tell the truth, but they also think carefully before speaking. They ask themselves important questions. Is this information necessary? Is this the right moment? Is this person trustworthy? Will sharing this help the situation or make it worse? These questions do not weaken honesty. They strengthen it. They prevent honesty from becoming reckless. Many of the most successful people in the world operate this way. They are truthful, but they are selective. They communicate openly, but they maintain boundaries. They do not reveal every concern to every person. They do not expose every insecurity to strangers. They understand that privacy and dishonesty are not the same thing. A person can be completely honest while still protecting personal information. This idea becomes easier to understand when viewed from another perspective. Most people lock their doors at night. That does not mean they are dishonest. Most people protect passwords, financial information, and private conversations. That does not mean they are hiding the truth. It simply means they understand the value of boundaries. Emotional information deserves the same level of protection, not because people should become secretive, but because trust should develop over time. Strategic honesty also changes the way people communicate difficult truths. Instead of blurting out every thought, wise individuals focus on purpose. They understand that the goal of honesty is not self-expression alone. The goal is effective communication. There is a significant difference between speaking the truth and helping someone understand the truth. One requires courage. The other requires both courage and wisdom. This becomes especially important when emotions are involved. Strong emotions often reduce people's ability to think clearly. An honest statement delivered during a heated argument may be technically accurate, but completely ineffective. The listener becomes focused on defending themselves rather than understanding the message. Wise communicators recognize this. They know timing can determine whether truth is accepted or rejected. Many respected leaders throughout history understood this principle. They did not become influential because they spoke constantly. They became influential because they knew when to speak. They understood the value of patience. They understood the importance of choosing the right moment. They understood that communication is not simply about transferring information. It is about creating understanding. The same principle applies in everyday life. The people who earn lasting respect are rarely those who say everything that comes into their minds. They are rarely the loudest voices in the room. Instead, they tend to possess a different quality. They understand human nature. They understand emotions. They understand how people process information. They know that truth delivered carelessly can create resistance, while truth delivered thoughtfully can create growth. These individuals are often misunderstood. Some people assume they are holding back. Others assume they are being cautious. In reality, they are practicing discipline. They understand that wisdom requires restraint. They recognize that every conversation does not need complete transparency. They recognize that every opinion does not need immediate expression. They recognize that honesty becomes more powerful when it is intentional. One of the most important lessons they understand is the difference between transparency and overexposure. Transparency means being truthful. Overexposure means revealing more than necessary. Many people mistakenly believe these concepts are identical. They are not. A person can be honest without sharing every private thought. A person can be truthful without explaining every fear. A person can be authentic without placing every vulnerability on display. This understanding changes relationships. It changes careers. It changes personal growth. Instead of becoming emotionally available to everyone, wise individuals become emotionally available to the right people. Instead of offering unlimited access to their inner world, they allow trust to develop gradually. Instead of assuming everyone deserves complete openness, they recognize that trust is earned through consistent actions. Over time, this approach creates stronger relationships rather than weaker ones. Trust grows naturally because it is built on experience rather than assumptions. Respect grows because people recognize thoughtful judgment. Communication becomes more effective because truth is delivered with purpose instead of impulse. Most importantly, honest people become less vulnerable to those who would misuse their openness. The people who earn the deepest respect understand something many others never learn. Honesty is not about saying everything. Honesty is about saying what is true. Wisdom is knowing when, where, and how that truth should be shared. When those two qualities work together, honesty stops being a liability and starts becoming one of the most powerful strengths a person can possess. At that point, communication becomes more than truth alone. It becomes a skill guided by awareness, judgment, patience, and a deep understanding of human nature. Honesty remains one of the most valuable qualities a person can have. It builds trust, strengthens character, and creates genuine connections with others. Without honesty, relationships become fragile, communication loses meaning, and trust slowly disappears. But as we've seen throughout this video, honesty alone is not enough to navigate the complexities of the real world. Truth is powerful, but power without wisdom can create problems. A truthful statement delivered at the wrong time can damage a relationship. Complete openness with the wrong person can lead to manipulation. Brutal honesty without empathy can leave lasting wounds. The lesson is not to become less honest. The lesson is to become wiser with your honesty. Many people spend years believing that honesty means saying everything they think and revealing everything they feel. Yet the people who earn the most respect understand a deeper truth. They know that honesty is not measured by how much information they give away. It is measured by their commitment to truth while maintaining judgment, boundaries, and emotional intelligence. They understand when to speak and when to listen. They understand when transparency creates trust and when overexposure creates vulnerability. Most importantly, they understand that wisdom gives honesty its true strength. As you move through life, remember this simple idea. You do not need to choose between being honest and protecting yourself. You do not need to choose between truth and kindness. You do not need to choose between authenticity and wisdom. The strongest people combine all of these qualities together. They tell the truth, but they do it thoughtfully. They stay genuine, but they also stay aware. They remain open, but they never abandon their boundaries. The next time you are faced with a difficult conversation, ask yourself a few simple questions. Is this true? Is this necessary? Is this helpful? Is this the right moment? Those questions may seem small, but they can completely change the outcome of a conversation and in some cases even change the direction of a relationship. And now before you leave, take a moment to think about this. Has being honest ever created problems in your life? Has telling the truth ever cost you an opportunity, a friendship, or a relationship? Or has honesty helped you avoid even bigger mistakes? Share your thoughts in the comments below because your experience may help someone else who is watching this video. If you enjoyed this video and learned something valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our future videos. We explore the hidden psychology behind human behavior, relationships, success, and the lessons that can help you navigate life more wisely. Also, don't forget forget to like this video and share it with someone who believes honesty is always simple. They may discover a perspective they have never considered before. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.